Well, let's just go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys. Thank you, Cohash, for letting me use this. And what is it? Just before 4th of July.
July 3rd.
July 4th, I have Wayne and Patricia from Check Twice.
Yes.
Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. I didn't think this place was going to be open. I didn't think it was
A lot
the
of
cars
places.
are going like
A
crazy.
lot of places are closed today, but we've got, the phone started ringing this morning.
Oh, it did?
At 8 o'clock, so people are, yeah.
Well, all right. So tell me, Wayne, where are you from? How'd you guys get started? How'd you guys meet? If you don't mind, then we'll ask you.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I've been here in Polk County, Florida for about 11, 12 years. For 25, 30 years, I was in remodeling, carpentry, and in the last part of the years in building furniture, architecture, woodworking, that sort of thing. About 5-ish years ago, had some health issues and, talked to my wife in wisdom, and she's like, you probably need to do something a little bit different.
Were you swinging hammers and doing
Oh,
all the
of
labor?
it. All of it.
So you knew all that.
All that.
16 penny nail and
Yeah, on my knees,
Oh,
laying
yeah.
tile.
Sheets of plywood.
Yeah, all that stuff. Everybody's like, the statement I'll make is that, I can build a house from the ground up without a set of blueprints and put the furniture inside of it. Just don't ask me to spell anything or write a paragraph, So it's different. There's
Sure.
different skill sets.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I love to be an artisan, a craftsman, a person that makes things out of all different materials, welding, plastic.
What
wood.
brought you to Florida from Baltimore?
I came down here because of my kids. The honest answer is I got a divorce and my ex-wife moved down here and I wanted to be with my kids.
That's noble.
So that's what brought me down here.
Patricia, Patsy, excuse me.
It is Patricia, but
I keep
know
saying
Patsy.
Patricia.
Or if you
That
get
is my
confused,
given
so
name.
Patricia means noble one. So if you just want to call her noble
Noble
one,
one.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
Queen Noble one.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, just noble one. The queen was too far.
Where are you originally from?
I was born in upstate New York, but grew up here in Lakeland.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Grew up here in Lakeland. I went to USF in Tampa, moved up to Michigan for 14 years, up in Grand Rapids, and then came back to Lakeland.
And the weather is different up there in the winters.
It's absolutely different, but I really didn't mind the winters up there.
That's what I'm from Ohio, and I miss the winters.
I did not mind shoveling snow. I loved the change of seasons. I really don't enjoy Florida weather very much.
Neither do I.
So, and neither does Wayne.
Especially not right now. Yeah.
We sometimes we ask ourselves why we live here, but we do live here. So, no, I grew up here. I did youth ministry for 25 years with Young Life, and did some work with Wayne, building furniture, refinishing furniture for a few years, and then I taught middle school math. And after doing that for 5 years, the inspection business got busy, so I quit my teaching job.
How did you guys meet?
We met online, Christian Mingle.
Christian Mingle, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, you never know how it's gonna happen. I met my wife in a bar.
Mhm.
You never know how it's gonna.
You don't. We, because everybody kind of jokes about stuff, but it was, dating is bad enough when you're young, but, being older and dating is pretty awful, trying to figure out, who's, the old catfish game, right? And everybody's concerned about what somebody looks like. I think more importantly, how does somebody function? So like even on Christian Mingle, the joke that we had when we first met was like, all the women's bios were, oh, I love Jesus and I'm looking for a good man, and then I'd like research their Facebook and, it was like post pictures last week of them, having a beer in their hand and their eyes are all glazed over and, and their kids are nowhere in the picture, and it's like, no, you just want a glorified babysitter.
Do a little more research.
Yeah, you just need, so it was interesting, but we got talking about that and some of the bad experiences we had, and it was kind of refreshing to be able to have a conversation.
To go to Facebook and see
with an adult.
a queen sitting there
Right,
drinking
right.
her
Right.
Pepsi Cola.
Right. So, but that's how we met. So we talked, and almost immediately I knew that I wanted to get married. I just, it was sensibility. It was
That's
like,
wonderful.
this is enjoyable. And the first meal we had together, we were sitting there talking, and it was so odd. So like I had been out on dates, and Patsy had too, where I just felt like somebody was talking a different language, or I don't know what their
Just
deal was.
just
Yeah, all over the place.
No connections
And-
at all.
And we had an awesome conversation, and I like got startled in the middle of the conversation. I'm like, this is really nice, So yeah.
On my first or second date with my wife, this is a true story. We were sitting there talking, and something took over my mouth and just started talking for me, and I was aware of it. I'm like, this is not me talking, but yet I was talking to her. It's like divine intervention said, you're gonna say what I'm telling you to say, and you don't have no, and holy crap, and it's the only time I've ever experienced anything like that, and 25 years later, we're still together,
Right on.
I've never forgot that experience, like, this is not me.
So what was the thing that
What did you
I
say?
don't know, I don't recall. We were just talking, and I was thinking I was gonna say something else, and something else came out. And whatever I was gonna say, in my opinion, was not gonna be the right words, and I was forced to say the right words. Is Lord said, this is gonna be your wife, so follow these words. I was like,
Wow.
okay.
All right.
True story, and I love sharing it because I've never experienced it since. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen, I posted the other day that I was out here outside in front of a cohatch, and there's a bird laying in front of me. What the heck is that? I've always wanted a butterfly to land on me. I was like, that'd be so neat to have a butterfly. But there's this bird laying, I went down and I started patting the bird. He stuck and patted him, and 2 months later, he just flew away. Did you guys see that video?
I didn't see that one.
It's incredible, I'm so lucky. But anyway, more about you guys.
No, we talk about your wildlife adventures.
So I take it that the home inspection business is based on your experience in building homes.
Yes.
Yes, that's what makes him a good home inspector.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and there was
Because-
a conversation. Yeah, so there was a conversation that Patsy and I had that was, applying wisdom. So, full disclosure, so I had some issues with my heart.
What's he say?
I had some issues with my heart,
Oh,
which made it difficult for me to, work 10, 12 hours physically and then come home, I'm worthless.
you're not 19 anymore.
Yeah, I'm ready to go to bed. I'd eat dinner and go to bed. I'm pretty useless. And Patsy's like, why don't you do something else? She talked about, she actually was the one that suggested home inspections. And I'm like, I don't want to do home inspections. I'm like, I don't even know if I can, because you have to take state tests.
You have to take a bunch of classes.
Yeah, bunch of
Certified.
classes.
And then you have to take you have to take tests all along you're taking the classes, and then you have to take a state test
Right.
when you're all done.
And it helps that you already knew the industry and knew.
Yes, so that was the blessed, there was a whole bunch of things that were a blessing that came out of it. I was under the impression that, man, this is gonna be drudgery, that I'm gonna have to take all these classes. It's going to be hard for me because I'm not an academic, I'm a guy that tinkers, builds, and makes stuff, I'm not the guy that figures stuff out on paper per se. And I'm not a guy that works using software programs or whatever.
Right.
You know.
Hands-on, really
Yeah,
hands-on.
Yeah. So she said, well, why don't you become a home inspector? And I was like,
I had a friend who was a home inspector over in the Clearwater area. And he had a similar background to Wayne, so I thought
That's
Wayne
awesome.
would be
That's
great
awesome.
at it.
And I rejected it for a little bit, but once I was like, okay, you know what, honey, we'll do this, and it's wisdom, right? It's plain wisdom. So the classes usually take like 6 months to a year to do. I finished them in a month. The end of the
Get on
month.
it.
The end of
Get
the
on it.
month, I took the test, passed the test the first time, and we were rolling. Now the irony is though, and this anyone who owns a business can probably testify to this, is that without a real understanding of marketing, I thought, well, I got a home inspector's license.
My door's open.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it, right? And did I I did not realize that there was another facet that was super complicated that needed to be taken care of, which is the marketing and all the other stuff that goes along with that, sales, what have you. So that was something that we've been learning over the past 5 years-ish, is what is sales, branding, marketing.
Sure.
You
all
can be
those-
great at what you do. This is in any industry. You can be great at what you do, but if nobody knows about you,
You got no hand, yeah.
Right.
So you're the bookkeeper, if we will, you're the marketing.
I actually am not the marketing. He does more on the marketing end than I do, and some of that just has to do with time. I do a lot of the administrative work as far as answering the phone, booking appointments, researching permits on homes. I do almost all the customer communication piece. And I do some of the marketing. I proofread stuff before it goes out. I do enjoy spelling and grammar. Again,
Well, the
that's
neat thing is you guys
very
get to
difficult.
work together.
Yeah.
You know,
And we
a family business.
we enjoy working together.
Yeah.
Which we have
And we complement each other.
we have
well.
friends that don't work well together, and they know that about each other though. Yes,
So-
but we complement each other well on our strengths.
What were you doing when you guys decided to start Check Twice?
I was teaching.
You were still teaching?
I was teaching, and we had started Dixieland Inspection Services. We live right outside Dixieland. When he started it, he's like, oh, let's just name it Dixieland.
Yeah, so then the converse, because people are like, well, because there's the thought of, why bother changing your name, there's something hidden, and it's like, so this is what happened. So during COVID, we were super busy, because everybody from everyone else wants to move here to Florida. And they're like, come tomorrow and get it inspected so I can get this house under contract. And we had several phone calls from people from New York, California, and the like, we're just not, talking to them, and they call us, we're just not comfortable with the name of your business.
They actually
Dixie.
said that?
Dixie.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, the Southern
Yep, they thought it was.
Bible Belt.
And I researched it before we named it. A Dixie is a currency that was in the South. A Dixiecrat, Dixie is, or Dixieland was music. So there's a bunch of stuff that's not racist, plus it's like right where we live. And I usually do not subject myself to those things. I'm like, I don't care what you think, whatever, right?
Sure.
But when we had a conversation with our son, who was in his, it was in 11th grade at the time or something like that, maybe end of 10th grade.
10th grade, yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing with yourself, son? He's like, well, I don't want to go to college. I said, fair enough, but you're not sitting on my couch, so what would you like to do? And he's like, I can do home inspections. So I said, well, you do home inspections, you get the classes done before you graduate high school, and we'll make it happen. So he actually, was it his 11th grade year?
He started taking his classes during his junior year of high school.
Wow.
That year and over the summer, and then during his senior year, took his finished his classes and took his state test.
By the time he's graduating?
He was an 18-year-old state licensed home inspector.
Wow.
Yep.
That's something very proud of.
Yeah.
So with that in the mix, I said, if I'm gonna have a legacy for my son, I wanna make sure that if people are triggered or offended by the name, I don't want people just not to do business with him because of a name and to hurt his sales and our future sales too. But now that I have other people to consider than just myself, and then we hire people and all this, so our other company that does the remodeling work is Wayne's Mark, and that's the old carpenter thing, check twice, cut once. It's nothing unique about it, but it's a good motto to live by. So the old check twice thing, we just kind of abbreviated that and was like, we do that when we do an inspection. We go out and do the inspection, and then I find myself going, let me look around one more time just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Never hurts.
It never hurts, So because of that, we check twice home inspections. So
Have you ever found an issue the second time as opposed to missing it the first time?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
See,
And
it works.
it's sometimes I think in even in a system like we have, like when we go do a home inspection, we go inside of people's houses, and a lot of guys do this. They go right and stay right. So I'll go in and trace go all the way around
Follow
to the
the
right,
wall.
follow the wall all the way right, so that I'm not missing anything. When I first started, I would do, well, let me go to the kitchen and let me go to this, and either a customer or realtor would derail me by asking questions or going to different spots, and I found myself missing things, and I would have to go back and then I would go over the whole thing again, right? And I don't want to do that for my customer. It's not just a, was a CYA scenario, but it's also a scenario of when people are buying a home, that's a large investment. And I want to make sure that people are understanding what it is they're getting and paying fair market value for what they're getting. That's the purpose of getting a home
Of course.
inspector, right? You're spending a small portion of what it would be for your mortgage to find out if there's a bigger issue.
That could save you a lot of trouble. and
Right,
headaches.
right.
I remember you telling me, we had a conversation once that your inspection saved the person. I don't remember.
Yeah, it
it's
happens all the time.
specific,
So
but I
it's-
remember.
Yeah, so it happens all the time. I walk roofs, which some guys don't do. Most inspectors, I think, do though. Which means you just walk back and forth on top of a roof, take pictures, and it's a sensory thing. So as I'm walking, my feet are telling me, is there a crunchiness to the tile? Is there soft spots where my foot feels, I'll walk, and all of a sudden you can kind of feel the sponginess in it. Okay, well, that's probably a rotten piece of plywood.
Yeah.
When I go inside the attic, I look at that spot and see if it's the problem. But yeah.
So you get up in the attic, you do the nooks and crannies and
Yeah.
everything. So
And then we also have.
make sure.
Yep, and we have extension poles with this thing called a ferret, and it's a little camera on a stick. And it can extend out 16 feet in either direction and, take pictures. Because we do that a lot too, with like, sorry, I probably should have said it before, but we do home inspections for people buying homes. We also do insurance inspections for people getting homeowners insurance. And then we also do air quality control, where if people think they have mold or allergen in their house, we put a system in that collects samples of the air and send it to a lab, and then the lab gives us a report on what it is that's in the house.
Absolutely. There's nothing more important than your own health. Breathing, you don't want to breathe in mold and all that.
Oh, for sure.
Moisture catchers and all that.
Right.
For sure.
So you get down to the nitty gritty and you make sure you're trusting your certification that everything in this room and everything in my report is true and to the way.
Yeah, and we crawl through attics, we crawl in the under houses and the crawl spaces, and it's necessary. You have to, I'm filthy dirty sometimes getting out of a crawl space, but oftentimes you get underneath of there and I jokingly say that it looks like, Joanna Gaines threw up in here. It's like, oh, they're all this new, the new tile and all this other stuff, and it looks really pretty. But I'll go underneath the crawl space and realize the trusses are rotted out, the plywood's rotted out. And in fact, the house I did.
There's leaking plumbing.
Yeah, there's the old cast iron. So what a lot of times will happen is a flipper will come in and they'll paint the whole place out, put tile in, make it all look pretty, and it's nice. And the part that comes out of the wall will be CPVC and PVC, right? Looks great. You get into the crawl space and everything's all original. There's nothing there that's been changed at all. And the problem with that is that's where everything starts to fail, is with the old plumbing. Because some of the houses are built in 1960,
Mine was
1950.
built in '63.
Yeah, ours is built in 1960. We have a crawl space. So there's a lot of stuff that unless you go crawling through to find out, you're not gonna see.
Well, you know what? My neighbor, my house was built in '63. My neighbor on my right side, her water line busted in the concrete in the foundation. It was built '61, and it flooded her bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Came out, they had someone repair it, fix it. The neighbor on the other side of me, water line busted, filled their house up, ruined a lot of their wall and everything. Had the whole shebang redone.
Yeah.
And here I am in the middle, and it hasn't happened to me yet. And they were both built at the same time.
Yeah.
The same guy built the house next to us on the left, built this one. It's just a matter of time. I mean, I think the water line's gonna bust at some point, but I'd like to try to replace the water line.
You can get it
Before it.
repiped before you have an issue.
Yeah.
Now, what is your house pipe width now? Is it galvanized or
Yeah,
copper?
I think it's galvanized.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Do you have a crawl space?
nope. It's just the
Slab.
foundation, terrazzo, terrazzo
Tile?
tile.
They'll probably do it through the attic.
Yeah, I'd like to do it myself, but I can't do the physical work anymore myself. I got a bad back, and so I can't do it. But I know ahead of time, I see a train coming,
Oh, sure.
and I gotta get out of the way. But, I mean, it comes out of money, obviously, but
Oh, sure.
at some point I'll be able to, do it.
Repiping a house, if you hire a plumber to come and repipe it, is not cheap at all, for sure. But to your point, it's cheaper than having, cause the way that things are working, and I'm not an insurance agent, nor do I play one on TV, right? However, we do 1,000, 1,500 insurance inspections a year. And we're seeing the trends in the insurance company to where they're no longer wanting to pay out on different claims of things because of different conditions. Like, for example, if you have new plumbing and you have a leak or a burst, they're more likely to want to pay out on that. But since you have older plumbing where it's the galvanized or something of that nature, that is that's a maintenance issue, not an accident issue.
They're really, the insurance industry in Florida is really forcing homeowners to upgrade things in their homes in order to get affordable insurance.
Right.
Or you're just going to pay a really high premium because they feel like it's gonna fail.
Well, someone's gonna pay for it.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's there's, everyone I'm sure is suffering from some of this, is that, like roofs, they don't wanna insure a roof that's over 15 years old, thereabouts. Hot water tanks, same deal. You know, and a lot of times, we're sympathetic, you know, you don't wanna spend money on stuff, especially if it works. You know, we'll go in the houses, and the form that we use for homeowners insurance is from the state. It's called the Citizens, or it's a template from Citizens. And they want specific pictures every time, the same thing. And one of the things they want is the label on the hot water tank and the label on the air conditioning unit to make sure what the age is of both.
Manufacturing date and all that.
Yeah. And on the plate, if it's older than 15 years for a hot water tank, they want it replaced, regardless if it works perfectly, regardless if you put new elements in it, whatever the thing is, they want you to get a new one.
So explain for layman terms the 4 points inspection. Isn't there something called 4 points
That's
inspection?
an insurance inspection.
Yeah,
What
so,
is that?
So the main two that we do for insurance is a wind mitigation and a 4 point. So the 4 point is the roof, the plumbing, the electrical, and the HVAC. Those are the 4 main points. And what they're looking for is the condition of all, to understand when they rate and I understand this, they're trying to understand their liability. So they wanna know the condition of all those systems before they write the policy.
How old they are and what material they're made up of.
Right.
So,
Yeah, cause when it busts, when my water lines bust, is my insurance company gonna say you should have done that long time ago? They're gonna say, you know, we're not
Could
paying
be.
if there's any damage or anything like
Could
that.
be.
But I do have my water shutoff valve handle at the street, ready to go. When and if it happens, I'm gonna run out there and turn it on if I'm home, you know?
Right.
Sure.
Is there such thing? I know it's a stupid question off the hook. Is there a stupid thing that you could put on the floor that when it gets wet, it sets off an alarm?
Yes.
Cause I got my freezers, and I got it plugged in. If the power gets cut off in my freezer, but there is a such thing?
water sensors, yes.
Water sensors, that's good. I might look into that.
Yeah, and in fact, I think, you probably could get a discount on your insurance if you have them in different places around.
Okay, oh wow.
I believe, I'm not sure, I believe that's part of an alarm, like if you have an alarm system for the home.
Anything that's gonna help
Yeah,
save money.
Yep, that can be integrated into your alarm system.
Oh,
And it's
fantastic.
it's some kind of sensor that, moisture sensor, whatever, that's in the, on the floor next to a appliance like a refrigerator and or next to a sink or toilet
Yeah.
to let you know if it's flooding.
Well, do you guys have any advice? Anything that you guys talk to your potential customers that if anybody who sees this video might be able to take advantage of?
Oh, there's a bunch of stuff we could tell them.
Besides the sensors, the
Yeah, so I guess one of the big things, and this is not out of judgment, this is just out of perspective. So we go into homes and they have storage stuff, and the storage is up against the hot water tank or up against the electrical panel, or
I'm guilty of that.
and
The electrical panel, I got stuff underneath.
And when we speak to the insurance agents and sometimes have some kind of interaction with underwriters, so on and so forth, the theme is everything that they see in any of the pictures in any condition has to do with what the policy is going to be. And if they see a bunch of stuff piled up in front of the hot water tank or electrical panel, they consider it a fire hazard.
Ding you.
Yeah.
And
That's a good point.
And even, so, we turn in the reports, but everything has a photograph attached to it. So, the whole outside of the house gets photographed. So the condition that you keep your home in gets photographed. Whether you have a trampoline in the backyard or not, people don't think about that and they just throw up a trampoline.
And that's more
Yeah.
liability.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of insurance companies won't even cover you
yeah.
if you have a trampoline.
Wow.
So, and then one of the big things I see, I'm not on the inspections, I'm just looking at photographs and looking at the reports. A storm comes through, people think, okay, I don't have any leaks, I'm fine, and they don't check their roofs or don't have somebody go check their roofs. So I really feel like after a big storm has come through, whether it was a hurricane or just heavy
Anything's gonna blow
wind,
branches down.
so to have your roof checked, and because they'll often, our inspectors will get up there, Wayne, Jeremy will get up and find people have shingles missing and they had no idea. The other thing that I think people neglect are just trees that are growing over their house.
Yeah.
If a shingle has 20 years of life, you get a new roof and you've got it should last 20 years or more, but you've got a tree branch hanging over your roof that's constantly rubbing all the granules off, you've just
Cut the life of
cut
it.
the life expectancy of your roof. And insurance companies don't like to insure roofs that have patches on them. So this area, just because somebody did not take time to do maintenance with their trees, they've brushed all the granules off the shingles and they have to put a patch there now. But they've lowered the life expectancy of the roof and they'll have
That's
to
a
get
good
one.
point.
Yeah, and that's hard to believe that a tree, I've taken plenty of photos where there's a 16-foot radius on the backside of a house where I had a tree that was grown over and the wind blew and it had a perfect radius cuts through the asphalt shingle. And when I mean cuts, like all the way through because of a tree. And it's like really
Like
just
riding a bike and you see the whole path of everything.
just the wind going back and forth and cut right through the shingles.
Wow.
And that's part of the thing, I think. So if I had to give like a big tip, is have awareness of what's going on in your house because everything multiplies. Meaning
Exponentially.
yeah, everything multiplies. So if you have, like after a storm, like oftentimes we'll go up and there's ridge caps where the peak is, there's a cap that goes on top of it, and those are the most susceptible to tear off. There'll be 3 or 4 torn off a ridge cap, and the next time it rains, you may or may not notice it, right? 3, 4, 5, oh, there's this little brown spot, but it was real hard rain. Well, what's happening is that the decking, the trusses, every system that's inside of that is now starting to deteriorate and get rotted. So instead of you just needing to get your roof repaired, now you're having to replace the decking, the trusses, the drywall, the insulation. And it's just,
proliferates, it just gets worse and worse
and the
and
money
worse.
just keeps getting deeper because those are different trades, different scenario, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So something as far as like just having somebody look at it to verify that it's okay, a neighbor, somebody,
Sure.
after a storm, that'd be real
Good piece
good.
of advice. That's wonderful. Well, thank you guys. If there's anything else, where's your website and your phone number? Is it check twice?
Yep, it's checktwice.net, and our phone number, it's 863-999-2172.
Wonderful. Is there anything else we can try to promote you guys? Cause you guys know that you guys are fantastic with my book. You guys are personal friends as well.
Well,
Yeah, thank
we
you.
just,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we encourage when people are building a house, they think it's brand new, it's getting inspected by the county or the city, and the builder's looking at it, they think, I don't need a home inspection, it's a brand new house. And, brand new builds definitely need to hire their own home inspector. So Wayne finds things, every one he's in, he will find things that the builder has done improperly or that they missed.
Yeah, cause a lot of things that people don't understand, there's a couple things. One, the city or the county, the municipality, whoever that happens to be, is going with the lowest standard building. In other words, whatever successfully fulfills the lowest standard that's on the blueprint, that's what they're gonna go with. So it's not high quality, they're not looking for quality, they're looking for craftsmanship. This thing is supposed to have 3 nails in it, great. It doesn't mean that the thing's done properly, but has the 3 nails that it calls for.
So technical, so.
Yeah, so that's the part of it, but then there's also, and this is something we've seen recently, is they're doing virtual inspections. Like Polk County, and it's, I took a picture of it because I couldn't believe it, I showed Patsy, I said, they're doing virtual inspections to where now, either as the homeowner or the contractor or whatever, you take a picture of your work and you send it in order for you to do a virtual inspection.
And they'll pass it.
So the next person that's buying into that property or doing whatever, you're now subject to whatever the bent is of that person. You know, if they're wanting to get things done correctly, well, good for you. But if they're just trying to get it done, take the pictures that look good so they can get it passed and move on with it, well, human nature takes over, right? So that's the one aspect of it. The other thing is we go out, and it's not like, oh, well, you need a home inspector because there's a nick on the cabinet. Like, those are important, but in the long span of things, like, who really cares per se? You can always touch it up. We're talking about, like, the second story of the house is not structurally sound. We've gone, so one that I went out maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, they had a second story of it. This was a new build, and I was doing a pre-drywall, meaning before this is when the plumbing's in, the insulation's up, but there's no drywall up on the walls.
Just
so you
the
can
studs
see,
and the
you can
wires
see
and
studs.
plumbing.
So I'm going around doing my typical thing, and I noticed there's this, I start at the corner of the wall, and I start noticing the studs, they're going from floor to ceiling on the exterior walls, have a cut in it. And it's got like this much, maybe an inch of meat left in the 2x. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And then they've got like this little tiny strip they just nailed to the side of it, to the, like scab in.
They knew that they had cut into the stud and tried, instead of replacing the stud.
But it was worse. It was 7 or 8 of these in a row
On an exterior
on
wall.
the exterior wall that they cut it, and they just put a little tiny scab like from a pallet or something and just nailed it together. And that's one, it's structural, right? And 2, it needs to be able to withstand wind. So both things, so if you have a cut, you can sister or scab something together properly, right? Or just tear it out and replace it with a full piece. And that does happen, like the cuts can happen on interior walls. If you have a 2x that's bowed real bad, you make a relief cut, and then you do that on an interior wall, who cares?
Yeah,
But the exterior wall,
holding up the truss.
yeah, that's a whole different game. So we've seen that. We've seen scenarios where we get out there, we've even done like pre-slab, where I set the blueprint out, and I'm looking, and I'm like, this whole floor, they got the forms up, and they got the pipe in, and it's mirrored, it's flipped over. Here's what the print says, your driveway's supposed to be over here, and the driveway's coming out over here.
Just hold a mirror up to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I have to have it. So I get out to the field, so I give a call to the homeowner immediately, the ones getting it. I was like, hey, before we even get into all the technicalities of what's going on and the size rebar and all the other stuff, this form is set backwards. It's flipped over.
Wow.
So it's that sort of stuff. And it happened, it happens on the regular, and that's the part that's kind of amazing to me, is that
He just the other day did a inspection, and there was absolutely a brand new build, absolutely no insulation in the attic, 0.
And they were trying to
They-
get it ready, it's ready
they
to.
said
yeah, it's
it was
ready to
ready.
go.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, and we also do thermal imaging.
People cutting corners,
Oh,
builders, you think
100%.
builders are doing
Or
that?
just forgetting, like somebody didn't
Yeah.
check, somebody
Yeah,
didn't
you
go
understand that
in.
some things, people
Right.
miss stuff, but if it's regular, and if it's the same builder that over and over again,
Well, here's the thing. The thing that people don't understand is the builder hires out crews of guys that it's their responsibility to do what needs to be done. They're subcontractors. The builder themselves, all they're doing is just project managing. They're making sure that everything's on a timeline, it gets done. And we've been in developments where the crew of guys that were working on this building were great, or this house was great, and they did a great job, and right across the street from it, it was terrible. Like they're piecing stuff in.
Sloppy.
It just looks sloppy and terrible, and that's just the nature of what it is.
and the worst thing is, then they put drywall and they cover it up, and you can't
Yes.
see,
Yes.
Right.
and the new owner has no idea. That's a shame.
And we also do, and not harping on this, but just hoping to inform people so that they know, is we also do 11-month inspections. That's called the warranty inspection. So if you buy a new house, your house has 12 months where the builder's responsible for any issues.
State law,
Yes.
It's a state, yes.
Law, yep. So we do what's called 11-month, where we'll go out and do a full home inspection like you're buying the place and record anything that's a problem, and then you can pass that in as evidence that it needs to be fixed. Now, if they choose to fix it or not, that's a whole different game, but at least gives you leverage to know, hey, I've documented it by a
Right.
third party, this one needs to be done. We just did one a month
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And the lady's like, I'm having a real problem. It seems like some stuff's leaking in my bathroom. And this is a brand new house, right?
She bought it.
brand new.
Bought it
Yeah.
in February. She did not have a home inspection before she purchased it because she thought it's a brand new
And the
house.
state's protecting me, and
Yep.
The county has inspected it, and the builder has inspected it, so she just bought it.
So she's got a little tiny brown spot in her bathroom ceiling where the water's coming through. A little tiny, water spot. So I'm like, well, we'll do a full home inspection and then we'll go from there. So I climb up in the attic, and sure enough, over top of where the bathroom is, there's the insulation has been beaten down by water. You can see where and there's a pipe that's coming up. I was like, okay. So then I climb up on the roof, and there's supposed to be a boot that goes over top of any penetration.
coming from the outside.
Yep. So any penetration through the roof needs to have a water sealed boot and the correct flashing. So it's usually a boot, and then the flashing goes on top of the roof. Well, in any roofing system, things are supposed to be layered from the bottom up. Everything laps over top of it. They just took the boot, put it right over top of the roofing as it was. No, they didn't even bother siliconing around it, nothing. So as the hard rains are coming down, it's getting underneath of the flashing, that boot going down, chasing that pipe, and going right down this lady's
I'll
bathroom.
tell you a funny quick story. The year after I graduated high school, I didn't know what I was doing. I needed something to do. My dad said, get a job. So I went to work for a guy who redid homes. He was a remodeler.
Mm.
And he decided that he was gonna build his first home. And it was just him and me. I was his handyman, he's a builder. And he says, we're gonna build this home. I said, okay, great. So I learned a lot, and I learned to swing a hammer. I helped build this house. Well, when we were putting the roof on, he didn't wanna do the roof, and I didn't know how to do it, so we hired this guy, new guy, come out. This guy didn't have his tools with him, didn't have anything, but he talked his way into the job. He goes up to the top of the roof and starts putting in the shingles at the top of the roof. And he didn't get but 2 or 3 in. He goes, "What are you doing?" He had talked to him and said he put in roofs himself. Everybody knows you start at the bottom and go up. He had started at the top and said, "Get off my site." He fired him right then. I couldn't believe it. He had just talked his way into a job. I was like, what an idiot.
And it's a good thing somebody was there to see him do that, or else he would
Yeah.
have wasted a whole bunch of materials and y'all would have had to re-roof a roof that hadn't been done yet. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was funny. Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time very
Well,
much.
thank you for having us.
Thank you, Co-House, for that. If you guys need anything, let me know. Appreciate it.
Fine.
Likewise.
We'll cut
Thanks,
this
Tom.
and stop. And thank you guys.